The earthquake hit like a thunder. This is what the Italian press is writing today. And guys, we have this earthquake swarm that is continuing every day. I'm repeating myself in every video, but we just had another magnitude 2.4 and then more in the 1+ range. So they keep coming every day. They're rattling and scaring the residents. And we've also seen the new bulletin, the new INGV bulletin has been released today. And basically what this is saying, things are progressing. The curve is going up. And guys, before we get to the bulletin, I want to make one thing clear, because it's often compared with the 1538 Monte Nuovo eruption, this current Brady seismic crisis, volcanic crisis. And they said, yeah, we'd have to see more land rise before we are at the same stage like Monte Nuovo. But guys, the Caprock layer that was existent when Monte Nuovo was erupting was stronger than the current Caprock layer that we're dealing with. And we see this in study by study. They find another weak point, another crack that is opening, another fault line where the earthquakes are lining up, another straw, a 1 kilometer crack that leads from the magma chamber towards the surface, another weak area where the Caprock rocks are already brittle. Every earthquake makes it more brittle. So the power and the push that has been needed to do the last thing for the eruption at Monte Nuovo, that might not even be needed here. That's the thing. And I have reported about this, guys, in the past. And also the raw data is public. Everyone can see them. So everyone, for yourself, you can do the math and you can do the comparison. You can download the bulletins. And I think that only someone with zero institutional liability can really connect the dots and speak out loud. The Caprock at the Solfatara area itself, in the Solfatara-Peschiarelli area, Peschiarelli where we have all the fumaroles, they're melting the roads. There's an impermeable clay layer that is only 400 to 800 meters thick, locally less than 100 meters. It is not strong rock that we're dealing with there. It is altered, tough, full of swelling clays that turn brittle and glass-like at 200 degrees Celsius. And now thousands of earthquakes and new boiling vents and fumaroles are punching holes through it right now. I showed you the picture where the volcano is actually punching holes through walls and through floors of buildings, and then is leaving their sulfur and their volcanic matter there. The hot steam, if you touch the walls, it's hot. And yeah, you might say we've already had that in the 1980s. From 1982 till 1984, there was a phase of unrest when Pozzuoli was rising up almost 1.9 meters and 40,000 people were evacuated, but nothing happened, right? That's why they're probably careful doing the same thing right now. But I can tell you the raw differences between the crisis in the 80s and the crisis right now. Basically, in the 80s, it lasted for 3 years, and we are now in year 20 of the volcanic crisis. We have the cumulative uplift. We have already passed the 1984 total, and we are still accelerating. After the phase in 1984, uplift rate peaked at 1 centimeter per month for a few months and then decelerated to 0. In 2025, for example, in the summer, it was going down to 1.5 centimeters a month, and then it has re-accelerated to 2.5 centimeters a month. The earthquake swarms are increasing. The magnitudes of these swarms are increasing. If we look at already in 2025, how many magnitude 4 earthquakes we already had. That re-acceleration is new. This has never happened in a monitored crisis that ended in quiet. The only event that we know of that matches the current pattern is the 1538 Monte Nuovo eruption, the last eruption of Campi Flegrei. And the historical accounts say this came with decades of uplift, final few years rapid uplift and strong earthquakes, September 29th and September 30th, 1538, a series of pure steam explosions, like Phreatic explosions, White Island style. Eddie thinks that's significant. That's why you hear him. So these Phreatic eruptions, they only threw out basically rocks and mud, no magma. Basically, that removed the cap. And then only after that cap was removed, magma did reach the surface in a magmatic eruption, and that's how this Monte Nuovo crater was built. Basically in 48 hours. The current cumulative uplift and the late stage reacceleration matches the final pre-phase of 1538 better than any other crisis that we have seen there before. So at least one Phreatic explosion in the Solfatara Peschiarelli area, that probability is increasing, guys. This is definitely a real probability. And I've reported about this, how the scientists, even the local INGV scientists, are warning about that, of a Phreatic eruption, but also of a magmatic eruption. And they said you have to prepare for that. That's why we've seen the new volcanic eruption evacuation drills. But why are the official scientists, the official institutions, why are they still careful? They don't give us a probability. They don't give us really straight numbers. They're basically just saying, well, if it was my decision, I would evacuate right now. Or could we please evacuate at least Pozzuoli? But they're very, very careful. And there's a reason for this, guys, because they can go, worst case scenario, they can go to jail because this has happened in the past. Because in Italy, giving a precise time frame for a possible eruption in a city, and I'm now talking about the red zone of 500,000 people in the greater Naples area, that will panic as well with over 6 million people, is legally extremely dangerous. Because after the 2009 L'Aquila earthquake trial, no Italian volcanologists will ever put a date range in writing again, never again, unless magma basically is already close to the surface at a depth of a mile, of a kilometer, and it's rising fast. So let's say there was a Phreatic eruption. Well, it could be White Island style, right? So the radius would not be too wide, but we have 80,000 people in Pozzuoli that are in the direct area, that live around the Solfatara, and that basically live right on top of the volcano. So radius for heavy ballistic fallout, 500 meters to 1.5 kilometers. So between half a mile and a little bit over a mile. And an ash column could be as high as 3 to 8 kilometers. So something between like 2.5 and 6 miles. Also over the rest of Naples, there could be light ashfall from this, but that wouldn't be dangerous for Naples. We could have a toxic gas pulse, CO2, H2S in the first minutes. So that's problematic for the people that are directly around it. It could last minutes to a few hours. And it could come in multiple phases. We could see multiple of these eruptions. Worst case scenario, a single event comparable to the opening phase of Monte Nuovo in 1538. A crater a few hundred meters wide. So if the area is not cleared, danger to the people there. Damage would be limited to the Agnano Pozzuoli area, but that's bad enough, guys, right? Multiple events over weeks are possible. Would that trigger another magmatic eruption? Right now, the seismicity is still confined above a depth of 4 kilometers, no confirmed deep earthquake swarm. That means hopefully no fresh magma is currently rising up. But we've heard in multiple studies, one study very interesting, check my Campi Flegrei playlist, where they said, well, this is the amount of pressure that is needed for it to break through. And that is not much that's needed anymore. But if a Phreatic explosion suddenly removes like 500 to 800 meters, roughly a little bit over half a mile of Caprock layer, and then creates a low pressure pathway, and we now have confirmed that it's not like previously thought, the magma reservoir is at 8 kilometers depth. It's at shallower depth, like between 3.9 and 4 kilometers. That could be so we could see a rapid ascent. If right? Because the Caprock layer would be heavily damaged. Probability that a phreatic event is immediately followed by magma reaching the surface, probably 15 to 30%. Not a huge worry, but it's definitely on the table. New bulletin that was just released covers the week from November 10th to November 16th. 88 earthquakes, highest in that range 2.1. Now we just had a 2.4. Deformation still confirmed at 2.5 centimeters. So this was not a glitch. It's confirmed. It's going on. Geochemistry, temperatures are rising. Gas emissions are rising. Fumarole temperature near the Solfatara, 173 degrees Celsius. And now let's have a look at the current earthquake swarm. I show you the list. And there you go. November 18th, 1.1, 1.1, 1.0, 1.8, 1.1, 1.0. And then 17th, 1.5, 1.3, 2.4, 1.8, 1.1. And then this goes down 16th, 15th. And I can go back 6 weeks. It's the same. So what's to come? Will we see another magnitude 4? The homes are constantly being rattled, and the residents said today, a thunderous earthquake struck Campi Flegrei at dawn, and that was November 18th, and that was only a 1.8. But since these earthquakes are so shallow that people really hear them, it was clearly felt by the local population because they're so superficial. Vesuvius Observatory gives a press release and say occurrence of a seismic event near the Via Antiniana. That's the area where the volcano keeps boiling the road. They pave over it. It keeps melting the asphalt. And then the fumaroles are coming out. Loud boom heard by residents in the area and near the epicenter in Pozzuoli. That's the official statement that we heard from the municipality of Pozzuoli. So guys, I'll be on the pulse of this for you. If you want to know what's going on above us, 3i Atlas, the mystery continues. Check the link in the end screen. If you want to know what's going on below us, underwater volcanoes, or anything else, subscribe, like, and hype. Link is in the description if you want to support the channel. And I hope I see you in the next one in a second. Stay safe.